Welcome back to our channel. We are your Colorado real estate family, and today we're going to take you to Northern Colorado with our Northern Colorado expert, Alana, and we are going to be talking about Fort Collins and the pros and cons of living there.
All right, let's go.
All right, for those of you who don't know us, Chelsea and Alana here. We do not have Peter. We miss him dearly. But if you are interested in moving to Colorado, Denver, or any of the surrounding cities, we're the people that you need to know. So hit that subscribe button and the notification bell down below. We put out 2 videos a week on Wednesdays and Saturdays.
That's right. And as much as we like to talk about local neighborhoods, areas, pros and cons, all of Northern Colorado stuff with your local realtor, I have all the information you need about real estate and things. So if you have any questions at all, give us a call. Our phone number is below, and we can help you out with any of your real estate needs.
Awesome. Okay, so we've covered Fort Collins a lot. It's been a minute since we've done pros and cons, so we're gonna come back, jump into that a little bit. Fort Collins, of course, is like hitting all of the top lists of best places to live and all the things. So clearly we've got some changes that are happening in Fort Collins, some that are really great and some that are not so great. So we're gonna talk about 5 pros, 5 cons. Let's, I'm trying to decide which one we should go with first. Should we do cons first?
Yeah,
and then end it on a good note?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's dive into the first con, which is the growth, okay? So, I mean, you've seen this probably more than ever.
Yeah, so growth is a thing in Fort Collins for sure. You're gonna Fort Collins lands on all of those best places to live lists still, so you're gonna get a ton of people flocking up there. So it's really busy, there's a ton of growth going on, and it can get a little crowded at times.
Yeah, and I know that we've heard from some of the locals, like they don't want things to grow and things like that, but there's also some pros to that as well. So, but let's talk about, okay, how much growth are we talking here, right? So 2019, it was a 1.75% increase in growth. That was the growth rate. In 2020, it was 1.72. We think, so when Alana and I were like looking up the most recent stats for you guys, we do think that COVID or just any of the 2020 mishaps might have affected people moving because it was obviously lower than the year before. We're like, wait, what? Like that doesn't make any sense. But then you look at 2021, 1.69, right? So aftermath of some of the maybe closures, things like that, we don't really know, right?
Well, and then you've got people that have gone mobile. So there's more people that are doing the whole, I can live anywhere now that my work is mobile. So we're seeing it bumped back up.
Yeah, so, and that's perfect. That takes us right into 2022. And they're estimated right now, so, and this is, I mean, take in mind, this is halfway through the year, okay? Yeah. We're in July of 2022 right now, and we're at a 1.75% growth already, okay? Yeah. So this is taking, like, over the last, 4 years, we're already at the highest growth rate, and we're halfway through the year. Yeah. All right, so let's get into con number 2, and that is increase of housing prices. So this is where Alana is gonna shine because she's our local real estate agent up here. I'm telling you guys, you are in the best hands with Alana. That's why typically if you're reaching out to us and we're talking about Northern Colorado and we got to get things done fast, her relationships, her knowledge, it's where it's all at. So let's talk a little bit about home prices. How are we seeing these climb?
Yeah, so they're kind of crazy, right? So we're in an interesting part of the market right now, but I'll get to that in a second. Fort Collins and that first con we talked about is really driving those home prices up because you've got a ton of buyers coming into the area and not very many houses for sale. So you've got average sales prices so let's talk about 2020 to 2021. That average price increased by 14.3%. And then this 2021 to 2022 already bumped up to 16%. House prices are crazy. We've talked about it before. You've got a lot of buyers competing for, not very many homes, and then you've got a really desirable neighborhood. So the interesting thing I wanted to talk about though is we're kind of seeing a little bit of that soften.
We are.
Yeah. So where you're not competing with maybe 20 buyers anymore, you're competing with like 3 or 4. So it's getting a little bit better, but those house prices aren't gonna drop or slump at all anytime soon, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, and I mean, we just recently had a client, and same thing, being able to get in at asking price was something we weren't seeing months, following up to this. So definitely seeing some slow. Now, it really depends on the area. It depends on the price range, of course. It depends on how strategic your agent is on, writing these contracts and stuff. But we are seeing a little bit more inventory as well. I think some people are anticipating some higher interest rates, things like that. Maybe, getting a little cold feet, but we are still seeing a lot of purchasing.
Yeah, and it's summertime, right? So this is still busy season for the housing market. But I just had a listing in Buckinghorse in Fort Collins, a really desirable neighborhood, and where a couple of months ago it wouldn't have gone anywhere past maybe 2 days on the market. It took us 2 weeks, but we still got a full price offer. So those prices are still holding pretty steady, especially if you've got a strategic real estate agent like myself and priced it just right.
Yes.
You're still gonna wait a couple more days now that this market is changing, but those home prices are pretty solid.
Absolutely. Okay, so as far as like inner city road construction, it's not gonna be any worse than any other city that you go. But going up I-25 to Fort Collins is a never-ending road construction project.
And the greatest thing about it, we all joke about how Colorado does so great at correcting the road problems for what's currently happening, not future. And we were just talking about all that growth. So in another couple of years, it's just going to be more road construction.
We just think they're going to start over. Yeah. Like they're going to finish it.
It's a conspiracy.
And then they're going to start over.
This is the song that doesn't end. Yes, it goes on and on, my friend.
And so, okay, fine. Road construction, no big deal, right? Like, it sometimes holds up things, whatever. So when Alana actually moved to Loveland, one thing I will say, okay, just, you might need to like put your GPS on, because I had been to her house 1,000 times, but then the road construction moved upward a little bit, and the exit for her, house was like a mile back. Like, I mean, so far that I missed it every single time. So just be aware, maybe use your GPS. Like it typically is really good about, kind of adding any of the road construction stuff and giving you a heads up, but it definitely makes it a little bit more confusing.
Yeah, maybe add 5 minutes onto your estimated arrival time.
Like 10. Okay. 10. 5? Okay, that's because Alana drives crazy.
Hey, can you tell me my secrets?
That's how she gets to your showings on time. I'm just kidding. Okay, so let's go into the fourth one. Diversity. Okay, give us a little heads up here.
So Fort Collins, just to be blunt, isn't very diverse. It's getting there though, right? We're starting to see an influx of a more diverse crowd, but for the most part, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's pretty far up there.
Yeah, so we typically see, obviously, more diversity in kind of the inner city and things like that. With Denver having more job opportunities and people moving from all over, from different states to Denver, we see a lot of diversity. So Fort Collins, with its growth, we are starting to see more job opportunities and things like that, which, obviously brings more people in. And then, of course, like Fort Collins, we see a lot of retirees and things because they want to be in the foothills, but they don't want to be in the city. So we are going to see this change over time. We already are, but up until recently, it was still very far from Denver, and it just, people were still drawn to the bigger city. So, okay, so the last one is going to be location.
Right. So the interesting thing here is you've got a really awesome location in Fort Collins that's like that downtown college feel. I mean, there's a lot of really cool places in Fort Collins, but getting there off of the highway takes a little bit of time. Yes. So and then there's also like proximity to Loveland. Loveland and Fort Collins are kind of starting to come together a little bit more, but Loveland's off the highway too. So if you're going from Loveland to Fort Collins, you're having to take some of those longer back roads. Otherwise, my GPS sometimes takes me all the way out to I-25 and then all the way up and then all the way back towards the foothills where the good parts of Fort Collins are.
Yeah, and that seems crazy to me, but it's true. Like, we are going to see, again, I'm like not trying to talk you out of the cons, but we are going to start seeing Loveland and Fort Collins close in. We're going to start seeing maybe some more kind of bigger roads, maybe closing in, like going north and south and not just west to east or east to west. But it's still like quite a hike up that highway.
It is.
Like, you're like, oh, I'm at Fort Collins. Yeah, I'm there. And you're like, still got like 20 minutes. You're like, gosh, how in the world? Like, I'm right here. Okay, so let's get into the fun stuff, which, everyone talks about how amazing Fort Collins is. It's because it is. Okay, so let's talk about some of the pros. So the first pro is active lifestyle.
Absolutely. And I'll totally speak to this one because one of my favorite places to go in Fort Fort Collins is Horsetooth Reservoir. Getting out on the lake, there's paddle boarding, and I mean, there's tons of trails in Laurie State Park. We love to get out on the boat and do some surfing. I mean, you're constantly seeing a ton of people out and about in Fort Collins. There's so many recreational things to do. Poudre River has some of the most awesome scenic hikes, and then you've got people floating down the river. I mean, it's just so active up there.
Fort Collins is such an active town and city and all of that. So if you're into the active lifestyle, a lot of people typically when they hear about Colorado and they want that active lifestyle, they immediately go to Boulder.
Yeah.
But Fort Collins is like, you know, they both are college towns and all of that. We talk about Boulder and some of that, so if you're interested, go check out some of our other videos. But, you know, this is just a little bit more low-key, kind of like active lifestyle than kind of the bigger city of Boulder and things like that. So, biking here is a huge biking community. They have like a platinum status on whatever biking. I have to be honest, like my bike only goes when it's flat, you know what I mean, like flat ground. Like I am not going down a hill on my bike. But you know, if there's like a platinum status, and I don't know, do you know what that club is or how you get that?
I don't.
We don't either. But I actually go check out when we interviewed in Fort Collins, because we actually interviewed a gal who comes here for biking, and she just absolutely loves it. So we could talk about this all day about how active Fort Collins is. So if that's what you're looking for, look no further. This is where it's at. Okay. Pro number 2 is going to be, it's like genuinely pretty friendly.
Yeah.
Friendly living. And you could talk about this. If any of you know me, I don't do gluten, so I don't get to partake in all these wonderful things, but it's a big brewery culture up here. So talk about that.
Yes. So, I mean, everybody knows the big one, right? New Belgium. And that place is great. Nothing against it. But my favorite is actually Odell's. And the really cool part about that is they've got this huge open outdoor area with all of these hanging baskets of flowers. I'm kind of a plant freak, so I just love all of that stuff. And then they've got bands and stuff, and everybody is just all hanging out outside, and you can always like snag a seat at a table with someone. Everybody's just super friendly and inviting and loves to get out and hang out with each other.
Yeah, and that's the general culture up here in Fort Collins. And we've had some people come in from other states and say nothing but that. We met with some clients and they were like, oh my gosh, everyone's so friendly here. When Peter and I did our interviews down in Denver versus up here, like very different experience, you know, and you know, it's just the city down there, and here it's like city but not city. So we're gonna get into that a little bit. So that kind of leads us into the third pro, and you get that city life without all of the city cons.
Right. It's a really cool place because it's a bigger city, right? So you have all of the things that you could possibly think of. One of my favorite things to do is go get like one of those personal use IVs. It's like this cool little loungy thing. I love to do that. You're not going to find that in a smaller city like Loveland or whatever, but in Fort Collins, you can really find whatever you want, and it's still in like a lower key, more of like a cozy kind of city, if that makes sense.
It's like Old Town versus downtown. Those are like the two words that I try to describe it.
Exactly, yeah. So you've got just a little bit smaller time feel, but it's still a big city, so you're still going to have a lot of things to do and a lot of places to eat and breweries to visit. And
if you are going to be a client of Alana's, you guys just can meet at a brewery because that's her jam. So, and that kind of takes us into the fourth con, and that is that Fort Collins actually has a pretty low crime rate. So we looked at a scale. The scale is like 1 to 100. So to make these numbers make a little bit of sense for you. So Fort Collins is a 16.2. So, okay, what does that mean, Chelsea? Well,
so on a U.S. level, the U.S. overall lands about a 22 for this crime rate. And so Fort Collins is pretty low. And then if you look at Denver, it's 30.7.
Yeah, so it's almost half.
Yeah.
So that really does kind of show, like, obviously there's more density in Denver. It's one of our largest cities, but it does kind of show you that whole little smaller towns are mostly lower crime rate is what we've seen across the scale. But again, it's just something that's really nice. You can look up any of the different crime rates, and we feel free to do that. We don't typically talk about that when we're doing real estate deals or anything like that, but it is good to know that Fort Collins does have a below U.S. average through the scale of 1 to 100 of a 16.2, which is nice.
Yeah, you get a little peace of mind there.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people talk about it, you know, and we try to give resources, guys. We can't, like, you know, talk too much about all the different diversity and things like that, but we always can provide you a resource. Just let us know. Okay, so we're going to go into the fifth pro, and this this means a lot to me because you guys know that I'm a mama and I have not quite gotten to the school systems yet, but I'm right there. So let's talk about number 5. The pro is that Fort Collins overall has an excellent school, school rating all the way across the board.
Everyone is always talking about that. So even someone that doesn't have kids, that's kind of important to me too, because that just means, you've got a really wholesome community, and you know that the educators and things are really doing a great job for the community.
Yeah, they're putting back into it, that people are happy and satisfied. Like, you start to see all of those ratings go up. We have happy teachers, you have, happy, kids, happy families. Like, it's just all around. So I looked on niche.com. It's rated an A. I'm going to pop up a picture right here. Like, you don't see this anywhere, guys. There's A's all the way across the board. So you're at peace with that, and I don't think you can say that about any other place.
Yeah,
so
it's really impressive for sure.
It is. When I went to go look it up, I was like, I know that they have excellent schools. I went to go look it up and I myself was like, wow, like that's just impressive. So, okay guys, we are wrapping it up. We have talked about 5 pros, 5 cons. If you are local, comment down below, tell us what you like or don't like about Fort Collins. If you are new to the area, same thing. If there's different topics or areas you want us to cover, please comment down below. We do all of these videos for you. So
absolutely. And if you have any questions about real estate, of course, I'm here for you, as well as Peter, both licensed real estate agents here.
All right, until next time. Bye.
Bye.
We are nope.
We are nope.
City construction is not that bad or any more than anywhere else. I'm like a teenage boy right now. Maybe I should have got a drink of water. Yeah, we start to see. I can't. I'm gonna have to get a drink of water.
Fort Collins lands on all of those like best lives, best places to live.
Yes, most active. Oh, okay.
We'll see. Okay, yes. Ton of people moving up there, and it's just expanding and growing, and we're right behind the trash can.
Man, that is the loudest tiny little car I ever heard. Elena, oh no. How do I turn that off? Like that?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, I'm still going. Oh. Well, that's great. Peter's gonna throw that in a blooper. I'll delete it so you can't put it in a blooper.
No,
okay.
Peter.
He's gonna. Okay, I'll delete it. You're all lifeline, lifeline.
Yes, I'm like, you go. Okay. So what were you? I can keep going. I just don't know what to say or how to say it.
You good? Okay.
Oh, we're still recording.
If anybody of you like.
Oh, Peter's gonna have a hate.
Yeah, this is gonna be interesting. That is the city, the pro of the city, being a city. Wow. Whoop.
City? This is city.
You know, that city. Okay. And that's actually gonna.